Now I want to add another layer to it by stamping this little feather one. I can't remember the stamp set that it's from. I think it's Inkadinkado. I don't know. Don't quote me on it, but I've used it or shared it in a previous video, and I'll try to find it and post it. So to do this, I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black because it is very detailed, and it's just going to give me a lovely look on this. And I'm only stamping portions of this. Now, if you want to get something that is a little more muted, then you can always stamp it, stamp off, and come back in with a second generation. And then you'll get something kind of muted like that versus a bold one like that. You can also do a combination of bold and muted on the same one. Totally up to you how you plan it out. But I simply just want to add a little bit more layering onto the card. So now I have this. I'm coming back in with the other stamp. I'm really just trying to get the flowers that are on here. So I'm just removing a little bit of the ink around. If I get some of the other things, it's okay because I'm really going for a nice distressed look, and I don't want the flower as bold, so I am going to stamp off on this piece of paper. Oh, that's cool. And then I'm going to stamp on to that one. So I'm just going to continue doing that to add a little bit more interest and excitement to my image. And so there we have my lovely background where I've stamped over most of my chicken wire and my color, but it's just giving you the illusion of what's going on in the background. So moving on. For this card, I want to use this Martha Stewart double punch butterfly lace butterfly. And I had shared this in my previous Martha Stewart punches video, and Pat asked, what is it that makes it a double punch? So although I punched it in my last video, I didn't share the little double punch. So I'm going to share that with you now. I have some of this paper that I was playing around with Radiant Rain. And if you look, you can see where I did the little double punch there at the top. Gives me a nice little pop-up of my butterfly so I can get some 3D effects out of that. So how do you achieve it? Well, for one thing, when you turn this over to punch with it and put your paper in, and if you squeeze it just one time, it doesn't punch all the way through. No matter how hard you squeeze it, it's not going through. So when you take it out, what you have instead is this image that's been punched out. And my paper got wet when I was misting my other papers, so it's not coming out as cleanly as these did at the top. But this is what you'll get if you don't try to do it with wet paper. And you can lift up the wings on your butterfly, give him some 3D shape on your paper. And so that's what they would look like. But what I've done instead is chosen to leave the punch flat on my table, put this in, press all the way down, and so here I have my butterflies going on top of my card, but I'm going to use my Quickie glue pen to put these down, and so it's just a matter of turning it over on the back and just putting a little bit in between the spaces just to hold it in place till I can get my rhinestones inserted. So I think this little guy will come this way. And there we are so far. Now I just grabbed some of my Recollection pearls, and I'm just going to, and actually I think I grabbed the wrong size. I need the ones that are graduated, that go from smaller to larger. So let me grab those. And by graduated, I mean these. They kind of go from little to big. And whoa, I just heard a huge bolt of thunder coming. So let me wrap this up. I'm going to get these open and then start putting some on my butterflies. I went into my stash just trying to find a quick chipboard, something to put on there, and I found these that I got from K and Company. But I like the us down there, so I think I'm going to pull that out, and maybe the brackets, I don't know, or maybe that swirl, and put that on the front. So now I have added the swirl from K and Company and the us. Not sure that I'm totally enamored with it. I think I may have to go into the us and put a little bit of bling on there. I'm only going to use what's on my table right now, and my color choices of my Sakura pens are limited. So I'm going to go back to this one again, the Copper Star, and see if I can add a little bit of color to this piece of chipboard. It's just kind of sitting there to me and not really adding much to it. Now I could have also pulled out my Identipens for this because they are permanent and they will adhere to this chipboard. But I wanted some sparkle. Okay, and this is what I have so far. I think that really does help to bring it up a notch. So I'm going to continue adding a little more glam. So I have cut down some paper for this. This actually started out just a quarter sheet of 8.5 by 11, so it's 4 1/4 by 5.5, and I just went up a quarter increment to 4.5 by 5 3/4 to 4 3/4 by 6. So I can just make this the entire card front and make this a 6 by 4 3/4 card. So let me get all of this adhered together and I'll show you the final thing. So before putting it all together, I decided to go back with my Barn Door Distress ink and just add a little bit of red around. And since I had a good deal of bulk on this card, I went ahead and put some glue around there. So now just to center it. Pick up the wings on my butterflies. And there is my card front. Who knew chicken wire was the start of it all? But when you look at it, it's like you're looking down through layers. So it's the subtle differences that you see that as you continue to go through all the layers on this card, just trying to pick out, you know, what was happening with it. I like the little metallic ink on the us. I think it helps to bring it to life a little bit. I know somebody may be saying, you know what, that's not my style, and that's okay. But I do hope you picked up a technique or two that you can take back into the style that you love and have fun creating. As always, thank you for joining me in the lab today. Please remember to check out my blog at inkallusions.blogspot.com. Until then.